Hey, everybody, this is your boy John. And as always, this is the Geeks from the Multiverse podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about some geeky stuff for our geeky chat that we're going to be doing, which is now the second time we're going to be doing this, but stay tuned.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Geeks from the Multiverse. I am Matt, co-host with John.
What's up, y'all?
And if you guys are listening to us on Spotify, which I know 60% of you are, if you're listening to us on Apple, you can also follow, but click that follow button. You know, you can also give us a rating if you click on the stars and share it out to your friends. You know, we have our own social circles, but you have yours. So the more you share it out, the more we can get more geeks involved. So help us out. Share it out.
That's right, man. I mean, you know, when we look at our social groups, I mean, look, I'm good friends with Matt. You know, we do talk. Granted, there are some times where Matt thinks I need to talk to him like never because he doesn't always want to respond to me. But, you know, again, it's helpful when you guys like, you know, for example, like email us, right? So, you know, we're going to talk about this one gentleman in a minute, but like, it's great when you guys actually reach out to us because there's other ideas that you might have, you know, and there's other things that we may not have seen or we do or whatever, you know, but it's nice to hear from you guys. So we're going to go with this email real quick. So my cousin Jeff, you know, this is the second time he's actually messaged the both of us. I'm not going to go word for word on this, but I'll basically kind of give you like a rundown.
Yeah.
So, you know, he basically says, you know, hey, I'm spreading the word on your podcast and to my other geeky friends, you know, hoping your followers and subscribers will increase. And we're like, that's great, you know, and
we appreciate that, Jeff.
We do. And, you know, and it's nice to see that, you know, he wants to hear more from us each week, you know, and actually the interesting thing is like now he's going into like, you know, different topics, right? So like it's a different topic idea. So like this one right here, it says, you know, do you think the Predator Alien producers should have a true humans versus alien versus predator movie? Now, I think Matt and I can probably maybe agree on this a little bit. You know, we could say that, yes, it'd be nice to see, you know, how humans, predators, and aliens be.
Yeah, it would be nice to see, but it needs to be different than what we've already seen because it already was a thing.
Right. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, it's hard to probably capture all that. Like you literally would have to like build it up just like you did with predators and then aliens and so forth.
Yeah. See, I you know, thinking about this, and I thought about this today. If it was to happen in a realistic way, I could see them doing like kind of what they did in Alien versus Predator, where, you know, predators are doing their, you know, yearly ritual or however often they do that, where they're, you know, setting up the xenomorphs with human subjects so that they can basically try to battle their way through hordes of aliens. And with all of that happening, if you had another crew of humans that were sort of like a crew like the Expendables, right? Like you have these really elite soldiers who hunt predators. And now they're kind of in that situation where they're hunting a predator or predators and not realizing that there's also xenomorphs there too, which kind of creates that tension of, holy crap, this is unfolding really quickly. You know?
I mean, you know, I feel like when you're looking at it as a whole, to really kind of define, you know, what you could see in a movie like that, especially with like the humans like going after like aliens and predators at the same time. I mean, we already know that, you know, we've both talked about how predators and aliens, they're both different in their own rights. And, you know, definitely. That aliens are more like I'd say the virus, you know, and then like Predators are, they're
You can go back to those episodes
right.
if
But
you really want to learn about them.
what I'm trying to say is
Yeah.
like if humans were going against both of them at the same time,
It doesn't fare well for humans.
no, they're screwed. Plain and simple. I mean, at the end of the day, and I mean, honestly,
Yeah. I mean, there have been a couple of video games. I'm playing one now. That's it's the monthly, November monthly PlayStation free game, Aliens Fireteam Elite, where that's basically, I mean, you're not going against predators, but you're basically going in and annihilating aliens. Like that's the whole game. So, I mean, I can see where this would take place, but that's why I'm saying like you would really need like that elite kind of military crew to be hunting predators because predators are not going to go after someone that's weaker than them. So you have to go with somebody who's going to be a force that the predator has to go on the offensive against.
right. I mean, so like you'd have to get like really like special forces, kind of like your ranger. Like you'd have to get really talented individuals that know exactly how to do more.
And they
like,
probably still have a 20% chance of actually winning.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, because literally you would need like basically weapons of mass destruction to even come close to even destroying them. But as we move forward, because I know we could talk about that for days.
Yeah, there's another idea that he presented, which I think is more interesting than the second one. He basically like asked this question of, if a face, he says sucker, but it's actually a hugger. Sorry, Jeff. If a face hugger got onto a Jedi, would the xenomorph then have, force like abilities that it can't control but can use randomly because it has a lower intelligence? And it's an interesting concept, and I think, yes, from what I know about xenomorphs in the Alien franchise, they take on the physical characteristics of the host that they implant.
I mean, true, but I mean, it'd be unique in a way where
you're not training an alien to
no. But what I'm saying is that I mean, it would be interesting. It would be very interesting if you could find a way to do that, but you'd have to find a way to control. It would be control the mind.
Yeah, it would be pure instinct, I think, and I kind of bring it back to the super fight that I had with you.
Oh, here we go.
With the Bride of Frankenstein who used the Force. I think it's a similar scenario where because Bride of Frankenstein was brought to life with a dead brain, I don't think you're going to teach the Bride of Frankenstein how to use the Force or have the patience to spend that long teaching her.
No, I agree. I agree on that.
I think it's going to be pure instinct, and we know from xenomorphs that they learn from doing and they learn from seeing. So if they know somebody's coming around a certain corner, they might not anticipate it the first time, but the second time someone comes around that corner, they're already going to learn and be right where they need to be. So I think it's possible that if they can use the Force and they can use like Force like abilities like push or lightning, it's going to just burst at random times whenever they feel threatened, or you know what I mean? Like it's going to come out in random times. But I think that with muscle memory and other things, like they may be able to replicate what they did before. You know what I mean? So I think it's possible. It just would have to be really well thought out.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as we all know with the writer strikes, which actually I don't know if they're even still existed now.
The actor strike, well, the writers when they ended theirs a while ago, but the actor strike is actually over now.
Oh, I thought the writer strike was just like this big encompassing, like just with writers and actors and everybody just kind of coming together. But that's what I thought.
No, the writers and the actors were separate because they're two separate unions. But the writers have been working, I think, for a couple months now, and the actor strike just ended. I think either this month or the end of last month.
So I guess the real question is, did they actually get what they want?
As far as the actors, I think the studios went above and beyond, is what I read.
But for the writers,
I believe for the writers, they got what they were asking for too. I mean, they wouldn't have gone back
more
to work.
money.
Yeah.
Because that was basically what it was.
It was protections from AI, which the actors were also fighting for, residuals and stuff like that. Like the crappy Disney writers need more money to write the crap that they're writing.
I mean, we've already talked about this before, but no, what I was saying is like, you'd have to make a really good story. Like you'd have to make sure that it was well written. It made sense. There was a story behind it. That's why even like in the first question too, you'd have to make a really good story out of it, because if not, guess what? Chat GBT, guess what? We'll be hooking you up real quick with some, ideas here. But
yeah. And I think, the Jedi, xenomorph idea is interesting. And I think, yes, if you do create a good story, I do 100% think it's pure instinct. And whether they're going to use force or not use the force is kind of up to nature, I guess, at that point.
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, it all depends on how they write it and how they want to present it. But again, another story for another day.
But thank you, Jeff, for emailing us. And I did add you on PlayStation. So, if you do see me on, you can at least start a party chat and we can chat while we game. But I do thank you. And you guys should definitely email us or send us a message. Send us like these ideas, because we will talk about them during our show.
Right. And like we've said before, like when we hear from you guys, I mean, it inspires us to maybe try to do other ideas down the road. And, we've already agreed. I mean, granted, we've only had one guest on the show, which will at some point need to talk about, because there are some, people I've been wanting to, try to get on. But the point is that if some point, when we get, more people on the show and other things like that, we'll have to be able to, be mindful of like how we can also present other ideas as well. So like when somebody's on a show with us, I'm hoping that they'll give us more ideas, so that way we can, we can start writing the stuff down. We've already have a lot of ideas already, and we've already had, pretty much all the way up until our 1 year basically anniversary that we're already close to, being at. But like after that, I mean, I'm not saying we can't think of any more ideas, but there will be a time where we're like, hey guys, anybody? Hello? We're just kind of here. But, I would say moving forward, again, we appreciate everything you guys do. And when it comes now to our merch store, because we have talked about this before, but
we have,
Matt, I will admit, has been very creative as of lately. Okay. Like he's been thinking of a lot of ideas, and, I will give him credit for that. He's done a lot of work regarding this. So
thanks, bro.
No problem. So for example, we've talked about that, we were going to look at Christmas merch,
which we do have. And we did switch the store over from, the Printify location that we were using online to Etsy.
Right. And the reason for that is because with Printify, it's kind of iffy. So like if
nobody goes there and nobody looks at the stuff.
Well,
so
no, it's not even. The problem was like I know that some people were talking about like they would try to order something and then it would.
It was a little rough. I mean, it might still be a little rough on Etsy. Like I haven't ordered anything from that storefront, but it just gets more visibility. Like our store is right there. You can actually search for us and follow our store there. But everything is there. And
right, we're just really using Printify as more of like a manufacturer, really, just like to have them push it out, and then it would go right to Etsy anyways. So it doesn't matter which way you look at it. So you'll still get the products. But part of what the Christmas products were, we're looking at ornaments, we're looking at stockings, we had a T-shirt as well,
and a pin.
And a pin.
The pin matches the Christmas logo, which is wrapped in Christmas lights.
Right, and like even in the Halloween one, I know there's like some bats flying around. It's like orange and purple a little bit. I mean, this one's more green, red, little. I don't know if it's like blue a little bit or.
Yeah, I mean, the lights are all different. Yellows, blues, reds, and there's a little green Christmas hat on the G. Kind of making it fun.
I mean, I will admit though, one of the ideas I really liked, which I'm going to do a little shout out to one of my old buddies at my previous job, Tony. If you're listening, the reason why I'm saying this is because. The whole make America geeky again. Like,
yep.
He gave me that idea, which I appreciate,
I wasn't sold on it.
I know you weren't sold on it, but I mean, I will say that once you had the idea, once you looked it on a piece of paper,
Yeah, once I had it in Photoshop and once I put it together and I was like, you know what? I don't want to put Geeky in that same font as, the Make America.
No, I understand. I mean, it was more
So,
of like like a parody thing, but
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was. You gotta admit though, it looked
I
pretty good.
I do dig it. And if you guys haven't seen it, go to our store. It's right there. There's a pin and a shirt, which what I'm trying to do in the future is when we do come up with a new design, it's going to be a pin and a shirt. So there's I think like 5 or 6 pins now altogether.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe I have to start looking at that T-shirt or the store now.
yeah, there's a bunch. Pretty much every of the shirts that we have has a coordinating pin. So like the Geeky by Nature, um, the one that I'm wearing, which is the Game Boy type shirt. I don't think I have a pin for this one yet,
I don't think you do.
but I made one for the code.
Oh, I didn't know that you made one for the code. Okay.
And obviously Halloween, Christmas, our logo. So there's a bunch of pins, and they're only $7, which is really really cheap.
Right. I mean, I've seen it go higher, but I mean, looking at what we're trying to produce in our store, so like our T-shirts, like potentially probably more down the line, more hoodies and more like things like that, depending on what we're trying to do. But overall, I mean, again, I give Matt credit. I mean, because he's done a lot of T-shirt designs, he's done a lot of this stuff, and I mean, we're trying to make it as affordable as it can because we look, guys and gals, the economy sucks. Okay, we understand that.
Yeah.
It's a struggle. Okay, we're trying to make it easy so that way. For example, maybe one day, like we've been joking around with this, we'll actually donate money to different charities or organizations or something like that because we understand that yes, we could become millionaires maybe one day if we ever got that much money, but like we're not trying to think like that. We're trying to be like, hey, you know what? We have this money. Let's do something with it. We'll make some money off of it, of course, because we need to live. We need to be able to afford all this stuff. But like,
Yeah.
we need to be able to be like, hey, we want to donate back to the communities. That's why we're trying to do this. And so, don't think that we're, like I said, we're not like money, monglers and we're like, yeah, we just got to get all the money. Man, I really don't like this mic right now. I'm telling you, that's not like me right now. Anyways, it's so frustrating when we can't give back to the community because I would love to go back and be like, hey man, I'd love to give you my $2.50 that we have in our account right now. But we kind of need that for other things.
Yeah. And this is where, you guys can help us out. And, I'm sure, John mirrors what I'm about to say, because we don't want to just be like, hey, buy our products, buy our product, buy our product. Like, that's not what we're about. But I do have to say, like, by you buying something from our store, one, you're getting obviously if you get just our logo T-shirt, that's not really that stylish, to be honest, John. But
look, I'm working on it. All right,
I can say though, the Geeky by Nature, which is the one that I had, I bought, and I'm wearing the more of the Game Lad because we can't use Game Boy in our whatever.
Yeah, so you can't, unfortunately.
Stupid copyrights. But, when I've worn the Geeky by Nature, every single time I've worn it, people like walk up to me and tell me how great the shirt is. So it's really, really cool. And they're really great designs. And I'm not just trying to like inflate my ego here, but they're really creative designs. And some of them are legitimately like funny. Like the Windows Error to me is funny.
Right. I mean, and again, that's the whole geeky, nerdy kind of style of what we've been trying to, produce here.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's not just, I mean, granted, yeah, some of the ideas that actually, I'll name one. Okay, Matt just came up with like at least an idea. Run D&D.
Yeah, like the Run DMC logo.
Right. But like just Run D&D.
Yep.
So like my favorite one, yes, and this one's a little raunchy. Okay, I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's not an actual official one yet. It's the the rating that you were talking about, but like in this case, it'll say GFY. Now,
what does that mean, John?
I don't really like when you do that, Matt. So
I know that's why
I would hope that if you don't, for at least the adult listeners, I hope you know this, but for kids, use your imagination. I'm not going to explain really. I will be good on this one, man. I will.
What do they call it? It's an anagram, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
go. Fly yourself. Yes, go fly yourself. Something like that. Yes.
Is it a 3-letter word or a 4-letter word, John?
What?
The F in the
The F.
FY.
Again, you have to use your imagination. But no.
But yeah, I mean, we do have coming up with ideas. Like there are some ideas that obviously work and some that don't. I wanted to kind of do another design that was, just saying the word geek, but it was like Scrabble letters. Like I think that's kind of cool. The one that I don't think really works, I was working on like a Wu-Tang Clan like type of letter, but it was going to say G with geeks kind of in that center spot, but does it translate? No, it really, I mean, I'm looking at it and it doesn't really translate, but I mean, there are some designs that like we're thinking of, we're obviously not going to just put up 20 different shirts in a day, but we're trying to come up with designs that we think, geeks would be looking for and be like, hey, that's really cool. Like I wanted to do kind of like that insert coin box
right
on a shirt, which would be kind of cool.
Right. I mean, for example, I mean, we kind of, when Matt actually designed the jerseys for really the like football in general, right? So I mean, we're not just sticking to just really the geeky kind of side of that, the house wheel that we're doing, but like kind of branching off to like let's say other things because Matt will have to get over this, and I'm going to say this. Besides football, there are other sports, my friend.
No,
you may not agree with it, but there are other sports. So even if there's a basketball jersey in the future, then I will be doing that. I will design that one. But I'm just saying there are other things.
Only drug dealers wear.
Okay, you know what? You and your drug dealers, my friend. I don't know where you're getting this, but anyways, I'm just saying, like, there are other things that we could do as well. But like, getting your guys's, like we've already said, getting your guys's input, getting these things on paper.
Yeah.
This helps us because there are things that we can think about all day long.
And if you want any of the designs that are on shirts, but there's not a hoodie, that can easily be remedied.
Right.
And I can literally just put that design on a hoodie,
and call it a day.
And in 5 minutes. So if there is a design that you go to our store and you're like, man, I really wish Geeky by Nature was a hoodie.
Guess what?
I can make that happen.
You know what, Matt? I think you should. I think you should just do it tonight.
But the thing is, more importantly than you just like, hey, give me your $20 because obviously we're not getting $20.
Hell, we don't even have $20 in the account,
but more importantly, like with the, wanting to donate some of the money, like, yeah, honestly, like if we were businessmen, which we're clearly not.
No, we're terrible at this right now.
We would take 100% of the profits and apply them to our podcast, apply them to, getting in-hand merch so that we can sell it ourselves and not go through Printify. But the 10% that we want to give is something that John and I are passionate about. And this is something that you guys can help us with and actually partner with us. And, at the end of the day, you get a cool shirt on top of the fact that, you're giving to organizations that help other people, like whether it's addiction or veterans or, a couple episodes from now, we're going to be talking about Geek Therapy, which is a nonprofit organization that actually helps mental health professionals better relate to people within that geek culture.
Right. And I mean, actually, just ironically enough, since I'm wearing this shirt, the Till Valhalla project. I mean, my dad and my stepmom, they wear all the different, clothing from them and, they're members of it and everything else, but like they have a really good message. I really like their, their style of things and they've helped out a lot of people, but like, stuff like that, whether it's NAMI, whether it's, really whatever it is, we want to be able to give back because again, we've already mentioned that. I couldn't remember how many times we mentioned this, but like we're just two dudes talking on a mic and we're just trying to give back to the best we can because
we don't want to just be geek culture. We don't want to just be, entertainment. We want to do something that gives back and you guys can play a role in that by helping us to buy merch. A lot of the shirt that I'm wearing, the Game Boy one, it's $15 on our store.
Right. And I mean, you look at some of the other shirts, I mean, yeah, it's probably either $15-20, if that. I
You
mean,
can buy a pin for $7. Every one of those purchases adds to the amount that we're going to be able to give when it comes that time when we have enough to actually give. That's more than just $2.40.
I only joke because that's roughly how much it is right now.
It's actually $3.40.
Oh, sorry, you gained $1. My bad.
We
Sorry.
gained $1.
That's great. But no, I mean,
got $1.
All right, but let's we got a little something.
We got the true story of Thanksgiving.
So, Matt, what did you think that the first Thanksgiving was truly about? Like, before we go into this, like, what do you think it was really about? Do you think it was like nice and all, like they're all kumbaya kind of thing? Or
I don't think it was like kumbaya. I think it was probably more like white people and Indians hunting each other for many, many years.
So are you saying like it's like the Disney effect? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so they take a story like The Little Mermaid and it's really like horrific. And then they just they Disneyfy it, and they make it all nice and pretty because of like what's going on.
The Little Mermaid is actually a monster and kills everybody, but they made the little Mermaid that's like redhead.
Yeah, and it's all nice and pretty.
Nice, and she gets legs and she walks around on land.
But we teach our culture that Thanksgiving is like, it's like, we're grateful, we're kumbaya.
Yeah, it's like, a couple, some pilgrims, they're God-fearing and they don't harm anybody. All they want to do is plant stuff in the ground.
And then the Indians teach them.
And they're kind of idiots and they don't know how to do it. So, these friendly Native Americans come and they help them plow the land and plant these crops. And at the end of the day, they're all sitting at a table and they're breaking bread and they're talking. And no, I don't think any.
I don't think any of that was actually true.
Any of that happened.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we're on the same page because, yes, folks, unfortunately, that was actually not what was happening at that time. It was not kumbaya and let's have a feast together.
Kumbaya. So I'm going to probably throw a lot of facts at you guys, and I apologize because sometimes I don't always like throwing out facts, but these are actually historical things and not just talking about like the Matrix and Terminator or.
We're not going down that rabbit hole, man. Please don't.
But the Mayflower did, in fact, bring settlers from England to land, which they colonized and renamed Plymouth. So that part of the story is at least factual.
Well, of course it is.
1621, the Pilgrims did hold a 3-day feast, which was attended by members of the Wampanoag tribe. So
the Wampanoag?
The Wampanoag. However, when these settlers had what they referred to as a Thanksgiving observance, they didn't eat. They actually fasted. So it was kind of the opposite of what we think, like, oh, it's Thanksgiving. No. They gave thanks and fasted.
It's what is I don't remember what it's called. Lent. That's what I'm thinking. It's more like their Lent. Back then.
Yeah, and then the feast and celebration was known as rejoicing. So that came after like their fasting and praying. What's actually, being viewed as the first Thanksgiving is, from what I read, is really up for debate. Some experts say it's one thing, some others say it's another thing. I'm sure if you talk to the Native Americans, they have a whole different story.
I'm going to say that they're going to have a whole nother.
Yeah, they have a whole different story. But not surprising when, the settlers did come to what they colonized as Plymouth, Mass. Native Americans have been on the land for centuries.
Oh, of course. That was their homeland. That was literally the entire United States was technically the Native Americans' land.
Yeah, so their story obviously predates this like feast. And when Europeans began coming to what's known as the United States, they carried the illnesses and the bacteria and the diseases that were, basically in Europe or wherever they were coming from, basically. Like they had illnesses that Native Americans have not experienced. They don't have like the antibodies. They don't have protection, anything.
Not only that, I mean, technically, the Native Americans also used like different herbs and different things that they would use medicinally. In
Right. They didn't have medicine.
they didn't have the
I mean,
medicine.
1621, I'm sure
Well,
the medicine
no.
was pretty rough anyways, but
I mean, luckily at that time they didn't know what cocaine or anything like that was at that time. I'm just saying because
yeah, I mean, they just didn't have the natural immunities that the Europeans would have had because of the sheer exposure that the Europeans had living in those bigger cities.
right. No, I understand what you're saying on that, but
So, obviously, like it made it easier for the colonizers to take over Native American land because of how many people were dying from these new illnesses that
they
they don't have
well,
medicine for.
right, and they didn't create it, but more just like saying, "Oh, here you go. Here's the flu. You don't know what that is, but it's okay, and you'll basically die from it. It's fine."
And the caveat to all of this too was the colonizers didn't come just to settle on land. They also came to obtain more slaves. So who do you think that those slaves became, John? Native Americans, because that's who was there.
Well, no, right, but I'm just saying. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. Okay, I'm not gonna try to start any fights here, but slavery isn't just for one race. I'm only going to
No,
say
I
that
mean,
in general
if you
because
look up the history of slavery, there were actually African Americans who had African Americans in slavery.
well, not actually no, it was more Africans who would enslave their own people.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, no, you said African Americans.
well, you know what I'm saying.
Well, no, but not only that. I mean, you look at Irish, you look at Polish, you look at everyone else in the world.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
enslaved each other. I mean, you look at the Romans. I mean, they enslaved themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, slavery is not just one race.
The slave trade was huge, obviously, back then. And a lot of these, colonizers, settlers, whatever you want to call them, the amount of slaves that you have dictated your place in society.
I mean, back then, yes, absolutely. That was what they did. That was how they, the more that they had and the more that they could, let's say more land. Man, this mic, I'm telling you, I'm only going to say this once.
You just gotta stop moving your hands, bro.
I'm sorry. I like moving my hands. But anyways, no, but my thing is like, as, back then, especially like, in like, the southern colonies and stuff like that, they had more slaves because, yeah, they had plantations. They had other things going on. I mean, granted, they didn't have all that quite yet.
Yeah.
But they would eventually, unfortunately. But
And you have to understand, too, like, Native Americans wouldn't have just, bowed down and said, hey, I'll be your slave now. This is probably like years of fighting.
oh yeah, no, this wasn't like
them conquering like Native American tribes and going in there and slaughtering.
I mean, if I hate saying it, but look at the story of Pocahontas, and in that, I'm just saying the true story of Pocahontas.
You mean the Disney version's not?
No. I'm talking the actual version of Pocahontas. That's all I got to say is it is not even close to what you think.
Right. So the newly settled, Europeans, they didn't invite Native Americans to their feast. The story of what actually happened was the leader of the Wampanoag tribe declared an alliance with the settlers, and then members of the tribe were showing up as a mutual defense pact. But the reason why the Native Americans actually went there in the first place was the settlers were shooting off their guns, and the Native Americans thought that they were in trouble.
It kind of reminds me of like, how we go, yeehaw, like we just like throw our guns up and like we're celebrating. We're doing like we, we won the war, like we did whatever. It's like, for them back then, they're like, crap, are we, what's going on here? Like, are we going to be attacking? Are we not going to be attacking? Like, what's going on?
I mean, obviously they were celebrating, you know what I mean? So
no, but like I said, but for them, like they don't have that technology. So they're kind of like, okay, what do we do? Do we show up? Do we not show up? Or
they did show up. So
no, but like that, that's probably what their thought process was, because like if they, let's say they didn't show up, I mean, granted, I would hope they'd be running like 1,000 miles the other direction, but like, if they, like you don't know what to expect back then. I mean, if they clearly knew that, it could be one way or the other, What would you do, man? I mean, if let's say you were an Native American, would you run away or would you like
I
go
mean,
up
it's
and
different
try?
because I know what guns are and I know what they
Well,
sound
okay,
like.
I'm
So, I mean,
saying
obviously,
I'm
if I
not
hear people
saying
shooting off guns, I'm not going to go, hey, they sound like a fun guy, a fun gang
no,
of
no.
people.
What I'm saying is like back then, it's like if you didn't really know what that was,
I mean,
it's one of those things.
hearing gunfire and hearing those loud noises, obviously, like they must have gone and checked it out, and that's where they kind of declared that, that alliance. But they did end up spending 3 days together, and they joined the feast, which, again, like we said earlier, like the feast wasn't them eating; it was them fasting and praying, and the coming together, like it's not warm and fuzzy like you would learn in school. Like the tribes were fighting all the time between the settlers, the colonizers, the native. Like there was always fighting.
Of course, it was. It's just like our today's society. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, if think about it, if they had social media back then, trust me, they would not be any friendlier than what we're doing
Yeah.
nowadays.
So a lot of these celebrations that were happening with the colonizers were because of the massacres of the Native American people. One in particular is 1637, when Massachusetts colony governor John Winthrop declared a day of Thanksgiving after volunteers murdered 700 Pequot people. It's actually the first incident that's cited as the first official mention of a Thanksgiving ceremony.
I love how the first Thanksgiving, let's say, ceremony, they're celebrating the fact that they basically just murdered 700 people.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord, for our wonderful feast. And yes, we just killed 700 people, but we don't care. But have a good feast. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Like,
It's crazy, but I mean, I guess it would be like, not saying military, but like if you're going in a battle with somebody and, you win that battle, you guys are celebrating.
right.
They're obviously not.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like, okay, I'm going to tell you this. Like, you might think that, when you win battles, that's fine. But like, think about all the, unfortunately, I hate saying it, but you think about casualties, you think about all this stuff. So like back then, it's like, I mean, they clearly didn't care. They were just like, thank you for the food that we were about to receive.
I would only be guessing, but I would have to think that if they were, like God-fearing people and they believed that God was leading them to do this, that's why they were celebrating.
I get it, but it's
I'm not saying
controversy.
I'm not saying it's right. I mean, obviously,
It's a bunch of controversy. That's all I got to say.
yeah, definitely. And there's a quote here from the United American Indians of New England.
Interesting.
So I'll read this. Thanksgiving Day is a reminder of the genocide of millions of Native people, the theft of Native lands, and the relentless assault on Native culture. So they've marked an occasion as a day of mourning for 48 years, according to Native Hope. And participants in the National Day of Mourning honor Native ancestors and the struggles of Native peoples to survive today. It's a day of remembrance and spiritual connection, as well as the protest of racism and oppression which Native Americans continue to experience.
When we think about Thanksgiving as a totally different perspective, and now you're hearing it from Native American, like, eyes and perspective and everything else, and their experience and stuff.
Yeah.
It makes you want to not celebrate in that regard.
It's kind of a, and I'm sorry everybody for being the negative Nancy and bringing up this story, but I think it's a story that needs to be told. Like it's just, we celebrate Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Yes, Christmas. Yes.
But like, we focus on the pilgrims and the Indians and them,
Again, singing Kumbaya and whatnot.
harvesting food. And then we think of like, it's all about turkey and stuffing and potatoes. And those are great things. I love them myself.
Well, yeah, especially those turkey sandwiches. But yeah.
But I think us bringing up this story is really to just let you guys know that there's another side to Thanksgiving that we should be more thankful of.
Right. And I mean, okay. and I hate saying it like this too, but like, when people talk about how things have happened hundreds of years ago and they start blaming people of like, oh, I'm like, I don't really know what my ancestors did. I'm not saying that I couldn't look that up, but I'm secondly, it's not the here and now, right? So like we're only trying to basically say, hey, listen, like this happened, right?
Yes, but
And
it's
the
just
only way to go forward from this is basically saying, hey, just remember that, we celebrate it in a way that we think is positive, but keep in mind that there are other perspectives that need to be said and heard because, when you look at a Native American's perspective, I mean, unfortunately for them, it's not, this grand story and this like,
yeah.
unfortunately happy day. It's more of a remembrance of like, unfortunately it'd be like, and I really hate going here, but like 9/11 or something like that, like a day that we celebrate in mourning and grieving in that regard. And so that is the
I mean
same
that
effect in that regard.
that's I mean 100% that's like a good comparison because we mourn 9/11 for happening at, how dare they do that to us?
Right. And so
And
like,
that's exactly what Native Americans are saying. Here's like millions of Native American people were slaughtered and their lands were taken over,
yep.
and that's like it's basically like this is Thanksgiving Day is a day of remembrance and mourning for them.
Right. And
Um,
and and that's where it's we understand like we can't go back in the past. We can't change any of this,
can't
but
fix
like,
it, right?
at the end of the day, it's more like, hey, like
Maybe with
remember.
Rick's portal gun we could.
I mean, you're right. If we could go, if we could,
That
if
might
we
that
could do
might
that, yes, we could do that.
that
I
might
would
do
love
a
to see
whole
it.
lot of wrong though.
But really, it's like just again remembering what was happening, and then keep in
Yeah,
mind
so
that.
there is another quote, John. So
Oh, sorry.
let
Go
me
ahead.
let me read this one because it's speaking to what you're saying right now.
Okay.
So Sean Sherman, he's the founder and CEO of the Sous Chef. He says the thing is, we do not need the poisonous pilgrims and Indians narrative. We do not need that illusion of past unity to actually unite people today. Instead, we can focus simply on values that apply to everybody: togetherness, generosity, and gratitude. And we can make the day about what everybody wants to talk about and think about anyway: the food. So people may not realize it, but what every person in this country shares and the very history of this nation has been in front of us the whole time. Most of our Thanksgiving recipes are made with indigenous foods like turkey, corn, beans, pumpkins, maple, wild rice, and the like. And we should embrace this.
Okay. Fine. I will admit that's basically what I'm saying because really, at the end of the day, right? So like, I always think about this like this too, but like the melting pot, right? You know how like people, they'll bring in like different dishes from like all over the place. So like, for me, I would be like, hey, this is actually how the right way of lasagna should be made. I've
Yeah.
seen some really horrible recipes, but like here's the right way to do it. But like I always loved when um I think it was like I think it was Malaysia. Somebody who would make like pancit or something like that in their version, I would like, oh, that's amazing, and like have the egg rolls, but like do these like different little things. But it's interesting because like when they're talking about how, we have, similar like recipes, there's like different ways to cook, let's say the turkey, the corn,
A
beans,
little bit
pumpkins.
of green bean casserole.
Yeah, you know what I'm
Oh
saying? Like,
boy.
but what I'm saying is like there's so many
Yeah,
different
yeah,
ways to cook
yeah.
all this, and like, we all come from different backgrounds, we all come from different cultures in that regard. But like at the same time, I think pretty much I can agree to this is like in every culture there's always a way of finding togetherness. There's always finding a way of generosity, gratitude, being part of a family, or just having like that social kind of connection during this time of the year. Just like Christmas. I mean, it's the same kind of concept, but just in this case, we're like food. Give me the food, But it's true. But like we come together and we're like, hey, you know what? Let's be grateful. Let's be generous as we can be. I mean, granted, we should be doing this all the time and not just one day a year, But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it should be all the time, but I think, in this quote, like togetherness, generosity, and gratitude, that should be what we focus on instead of like, in schools doing like, the little hand turkeys and
oh yeah,
you make the pilgrim hats, and somebody makes like the Indian feathers for the, we did that in schools.
Oh, of course we did. I remember doing it. Yeah.
I don't know if I was taught any of this in school.
No, of course you weren't, because like if you look at all of history books, do you really think that every single piece of that was actually true? Some of it maybe, but not all of
Some
it.
of it maybe. I think obviously a lot of it is made up, and when you see this, like, I certainly, and maybe I'm selfish, John. I don't know. I could be, but
I guess we'll find out.
I do like the togetherness and the, being grateful for like the things that I have and the life that I have and the people that are in my life.
Oh, so like,
But more importantly,
wow, he doesn't even want to mention me. That's cool, but go
I
ahead.
said the people in my life. You're included in that,
well, I
John.
didn't know, but thank you. I appreciate
But
that.
I think more importantly, when I think Thanksgiving, food.
Wow.
100% food.
No,
But that's what, like, if it was more about food and I could just make it at home, like that wouldn't be what I would like. Like I would prefer to go, to my family's house or a friend's house, somebody's house to like break bread with and to, eat and have that discussion and, do those things that togetherness, togetherness,
No, I'm not going there. I was thinking of SpongeBob, but I'm not going there. But no, I mean, when you look at the day, I think that's really the most important part is really the grateful, the togetherness. When I look at the word grateful, I mean it really, to me, like Thanksgiving, that's what I think of all the time is grateful, being together with people, sharing, different ideas of what you're grateful for, right? So like that was kind of like the big
yeah,
thing that Thanksgiving kind of introduced. But I think as a whole, when we look at, this day, I mean, granted, you should be thinking about it all the time, but like it hopefully will, kind of remind you of like saying, hey, you know what? I'm grateful for the life that I have. I'm grateful for all these things that I, have done, but maybe there's other things that, I'm waiting on being grateful for, maybe different opportunities, different things that are going on. But,
Well, and this is like being grateful is definitely an action
well, yeah,
because there are a lot of people that, either through trauma or mental health, whatever, like the holidays are just not, you know, something that they celebrate. And
no,
it's like,
of
well,
course.
how can I be grateful when I have all this past? It's an action.
Yeah.
Being grateful is an action that you have to take. It's not like you get up and you have to breathe. You just naturally do it, right?
I mean, I don't know. I have a buddy that his son apparently, was like, "Hey, Dad, I'm breathing," and I'm like, "Well, that's good, son, because I'm glad you're breathing, because that's a natural function." But go on.
But yeah, I mean, like breathing is a natural thing. Like you do it naturally. You don't have to like breathe in, breathe out.
Well,
You don't
oh,
have
yeah.
to think about it. It automatically happens. But that's not gratitude. Gratitude isn't that natural process that you automatically just do. It's an action. It causes you to have to do, you have to be grateful. Even if it's
Right.
forced, you should look at the things that you do have in your life. I mean, if you're breathing, you're still alive. So that's obviously one thing to be grateful for.
Right. That you're alive.
But you just have to look even the smallest thing, like I have this drink in front of me. Like, thank you, John, for giving me that drink. Like
Absolutely, man. And guess
I
what?
would
You have a
be
second one just in case you don't have the first
I
one.
would be completely dry without it. So,
There you go.
it's just the things that are in your life, you just have to be grateful. And the togetherness, find somebody.
I mean, he found me, so here we are talking about a podcast. I'm
Hey,
just saying.
there's
No.
7 billion people on the planet. There's one for you.
See, and look, I found Matt. He found me. Look at that. We're together. No, but what we're trying to say, guys, is like with Thanksgiving, being basically actually next week, which would be
This week.
this
Yeah.
week. Yes. Um, remember these different, concepts and everything. I mean, it shouldn't be just like a one done, call it a day. Like it should be like an everyday thing. Like, we talk about, or really not even talk about, I think more as a society, we talk about this. Like we say, oh, this is important only one day a year. Like, no, it should be an
Yeah.
everyday
We talk
kind
about
of
it. I
concept.
mean, we put up a big game. And the one thing, like when I was a counselor, the biggest thing I told people was to journal. And this
Of
is
course.
like the best way to be grateful, not just on one day, is grab a note, like a small notebook, and when you get something you're grateful for, write it down and continue to do that, because after about 5 pages, you'll have 5 pages of all the things that you're grateful for. And then hopefully it'll be 10 and 20, and you'll fill up that whole notebook, and you can actually flip through and say, like, these are all the things I'm grateful for. That's crazy.
Well, and I'm also going to say this too is like, even if it's kind of like a motto or like a mantra, like you should say like every day. It's like, what is my purpose? Let's say for today or for the next week or for the next years or whatever, right? So like you can think about like the things that you are fighting for every day, right? Or like, why are you getting up in the morning? Why are you doing what you're doing every single morning and day and night and whatever, right? So like I can say, yeah, I'm fighting for my family. I'm wanting to give my son a better future, so that way maybe one day he can take care of me in the nursing home or whatever the case is. But like I want him to get a better life, right? And I want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to do all this. I can be like, I love my dog. I want him to be like the happiest dog on the planet. I could go on days talking about all this, but like having that like motivation, right? Or that determination of like, why am I grateful for what I am doing in this moment today? And even for, however long I'm on this earth, and that, you have to think about like that kind of stuff. But guys, since we've been talking about Thanksgiving and all this, we're grateful for you guys. We've always been grateful to be able to do this podcast. I mean,
100%.
because Matt literally, like I said in the very beginning, when he randomly talked to me about like, hey man, I think we should do a podcast. We've been talking about this for years. And I'm like, you're right. But how the hell are we going to do this? He's like, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, you're right. I said, well, we need equipment. So, of course, he had some stuff. And then I had to kind of finance some stuff. And then, we kind of did this together. And then, like, here we are. We're already at what, episode 38 now?
This is 38, yes.
I mean, think about it, guys. I'm ready. I'm just going to throw it out there. I mean, this is more in the future. 1 year will be, well, technically it'll be the day after Valentine's Day.
Right.
Which we'll be doing an anti-Valentine's Day. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. I mean, maybe
We
we'll see.
totally could.
We could do an anti-Valentine's. I think we should actually. I think we're both married. Okay, so maybe we should do an anti-Valentine's Day just as a joke. But the whole point, guys, is like we're supportive. Of you guys helping us in lots of different ways. Like I said, be emailing us, sharing the our podcast, like all these different things, like even the merch store, literally anything you guys do to help us. And hopefully the long run that will help us, achieve where we want to go.
I do have a little thing.
Oh, hold on.
Because
Bing, 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 bing.
because I did just order new stickers.
Ooh.
So, John, what I am prepared to do, and obviously, we're
Wait.
going to keep some for ourselves. So I don't have
No, hold on a minute. Are you challenging? Is this like a challenge right now?
It's actually not a challenge. It's actually just a good thing.
Oh, wow. He's doing a good deed.
But
Okay.
obviously, I'm gonna have a stack, and you're gonna have a stack.
Oh, okay. Yep.
But if you are listening to our show and you are a regular listener, send us a message, because I would love to just send you one.
Okay.
No cost, no nothing. Just
Here you go.
send us a message on our Facebook page, and we will, we'll get your address, and we will, I will physically mail those out.
So I'm going to tell you guys this. Our very first batch of stickers, Matt literally gave me a little bit of like, I think it was like 5. I can't remember exactly how many.
They sent me 20.
Was it 20? Okay,
Yeah.
so they gave me, so he gave me 10. I'm going to tell you this. I
don't think I even gave you 10. I think I gave you like 5, because I had a few, and then I put a couple on the bottle. My wife put one on her
Yeah,
bottle.
you had like 15. Okay, you had too many. I think you should have gave me 10. But
Well, you gave yours away.
okay, well, thank you for ruining the story. Thank you for being a party pooper. What I'm trying to say is, guys, is
Me.
I was trying to be nice, and I gave it basically all of them away. I didn't even keep one for myself. And Matt was like, "Why did you do that?" And I'm like, because we're trying to promote our podcast. And at this point, I mean, I would love to have one, but I was trying to be nice and be like, hey, you know what? You get a sticker, you get a sticker, you get a sticker, but what I'm trying to say is like, that's kind of the same thing what Matt's doing now is like being like, hey, this time I'm going to tell you guys, I'm sorry. I'm going to have I'll probably have 3 stickers to myself because I would like to put them on certain things, but yes, everything else I'll be like, Here you go.
Well, right now there's 100
I'm sorry, what?
that are coming to my house. There's 100 of them.
Okay, well then, yes, I will make sure that everywhere that I in my home, I'll be like, you get a sticker, you get a. No, I'm kidding. But the whole point is, guys, is if you reach out to us, we'll be able to give you a sticker because you know what, this is just like I said, we're trying to be generous, we're trying to be grateful for you guys to be able to
Right.
listen to us and to be able to do what we are trying to achieve.
All right. So yeah, send us a message on our Facebook page. You can get there from the link tree that's in the description in Spotify, or you can search for us on Facebook.
And
It's a novel idea, and you can find us there. You can send us a message, whether it's Instagram, whether it's from our website, or on Facebook. Just send us that message so that we know you want a sticker, and we will mail it out to you. If you're 100% local, we can just hand one right to you.
within reason. I mean, depending on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm
where you live.
not driving to Wolfboro to give you a sticker, but
Right.
if you live like in Manchester or Nashua, like in those areas, like
Or Concord, I'm going to throw that out there. I mean, depending on where you're at, I don't mind doing that. But like I said, if you're living
Yeah.
way up north and you're
you
living
can just
like
send
way
us a
down
message,
south,
and
yeah.
we can easily just throw it in an envelope and mail it out to you.
Or just like Santa, we just drop it on your doorstep and walk away. No.
We definitely want to just do this. Like, it wasn't like, hey, we want to charge you for, a sticker. No, we want to just give some away. And that's,
That's just the way it is.
trying to give back and be thankful and grateful.
Right. And so think of it as like an early Thanksgiving Christmas gift. Because that's basically the best way I could put it. But
So that's it, John. I think that's
that's it. That's a wrap. Okay.
I think this one's a wrap.
So I'll say this, guys. As always, we appreciate everything you guys do. But until next time,
Stay geeky.